Hello everyone, we are here at my Dreambox station, which is my new standing work area for now. I wanted to show you a couple things, two major things. I am getting ready to transfer this Sashiko nudibranch bunny pattern. I have some cool fabric that I really liked, but what I will say, this fabric has like a really lovely texture. It's really heavyweight. It has great drape. It has natural watercolor. I used it in a stitch along last year as well, but this is the most fraying freaking fabric that has ever lived. Now, I don't know if this is okay to do. It's what I do. If it's not okay to do, don't do it on your project, or if you know some reason it's not okay to do, you're more than welcome to, like, send me a note. But what I do is I take a little dotting style paintbrush like this. It's not going to focus on it. And I take some of the flexible, stretchable fabric glue, and I literally, you can see where I did it last night because it dried, but I literally put it on the edge, literally the tiniest edge, and just aggressively dab the glue along the edges. So you don't really get a glued edge. You just have stopped the little frays from breaking loose. Additionally, I have my kind of bootleg version of a tracing table. So they don't make them big enough sometimes, and I am not going to use a blade to cut out all of this so that I can chalk it. I also don't want to use a big enough pattern or fabric transfer to do that with. So I have taped it to a piece of plexiglass so that it's easy for me to keep it sturdy. And under the plexiglass, I will be placing what is a spare cabinet light that happens to be flat. It's this little donut that you would normally stick to the inside of a cabinet. I have extra ones because I haven't plugged them into my cabinet. So you can put this underneath. Because it's so flat, it shouldn't throw you off terribly. Turn on the light to whatever brightness you need, and then while your fabric is on top, you should be able to see through it. And I have these great new chalk mechanical pencils. I have two brands to try, but they will fit. It's a 0.9 lead. So if you are one of the people who has mechanical pencils with 0.9 leads, which I thought I had put all mine over here. Oh, I did. These are just from Walmart, and you can buy just the lead from Bohin and from Sewline, which is the two companies of chalk pencil I bought. They will fit in here, but I wanted to try the big pens. So that's what I've got set up for now. I will let you know how the chalk liners go and how the tracing goes, and we'll see if we can't transfer over some nudibranchs to stitch together. And I hope that the little glue trick thing helps, because it keeps you from putting a bunch of glue or fray stop on it. Just a tiny bit will do. All right, I will get tracing. Okay, this is really throwing the camera's light for a loop, but you can see, hopefully, when I get up close, you can see that the design is coming through. I have taped the fabric down around the edges so that it won't move, but, oh yeah, you can see it being cast up around the area. So you can also do this with your phone flashlight underneath. I've used a cake plate, like a baking dish. You could use any clear tub. All of those things work. This fabric was really thick, so I thought I would need a highly intense light, and that was a good guess. So you can see that the pattern is visible underneath, and so I will be taking one of our two chalk pencils. Both were made in Japan. This is Sewline, this is Bohin. I think it's Bohin or Bohin, but this one's written in French, this one's written in Japanese. There's a lot of crossover in their art styles. The nice part about this being a pencil is that you can fit it really easily inside of Sashiko stencils, which normally you would have to either dust chalk on or use a chalk pencil, but the lead should go on more easily and give you more control. So I'm going to try those and get our nudie bunnies drawn on here. But that is how I trace things, and I just do it that way and kind of refuse to upgrade because it works, and that's good enough for me. Okay, so that worked great. I've put us in better light so you can see the results. This is kind of the joy of doing Sashiko, is that there's a little bit of intentional human error in everything, because no one can trace perfectly, nothing is perfect, but you can try. Anyway, this reminded me a little bit of an Andean culture. I believe they were called the Wari people, and they used to take their extraordinary weaving skills and they would intentionally weave patterns that didn't make sense, or patterns turned on their head, or just they made things weird. And the intention was to show that they boldly had control of chaos, that they could so easily control it that they would put it into their artwork. And I thought that was really kind of a fun concept. It looks like I missed a set of gills on this one's touche, so I will update that. And then I will layer this with a piece of cotton batting, because I just enjoy the texture to hold when I'm doing Sashiko rather than just a floppy piece of fabric. The stiffness of a piece of cotton batting is easier for my hand disabilities. So work with what you've got, work with what makes you happy, and don't feel bad. You're doing art. You can do it however you want. I'm not going to yell at you, and neither is a Japanese ghost. Okay, so I have most of my squares stitched. All the things that are marked are stitched. I wanted to show you, this is the Bohin chalk pencil, which was actually made in Japan but is marketed to France. Go figure. And you can see, and I have very, very sweaty hands in general, and you can see where the chalk is a little lighter, but it is still very much visible, even in my crummy office light. So I would say this one's pretty good. We will try the other one on another stitch. But so far this one's great, and I have touched this whole thing with very sweaty hands. Nothing in particular dislodged it except sewing it near it, which seemed to bump the particles out of the fabric, because it's just chalk dust, basically. You're grinding into your fabric. So when you sew, it kind of, as you pull things through the fiber, it kind of pops it and loosens up the dust. And it seems to be okay. Is this hard under here? Yes. It seems to be okay with you making the line bright over the top. It doesn't like resist itself or not want to go on once you've sweated on it. So you can touch up as you go if you feel like you're losing your lines or bumping them a lot. But pretty happy with this one. We'll try another, but this is going well for the little nudibranch Sashiko. Okay, so here's how our first test with the Bohin pencil came out. You can see that there's no visible chalk, because by virtue of sewing with it, your fiber, it kind of bumps it off of the fabric because it's just powder. So I really liked working with that, other than being a little nervous that I would sweat it off, and definitely sweating it off in a couple places, but I just added more pencil, and I'm super happy with how it came out. So we will try the other pencil on another Sashiko. Okay, we're back to test pen number 2. This is the Sewline fabric pencil. This one is made in Japan and sold in Japan, whereas the other one is made in Japan and sold in France. They both come with a similar number of leads, but they are also preloaded with lead. The pencil comes preloaded. This one admittedly is cuter, but you could use any 0.9 lead as we discussed. So I will be trying it out on this one, and we'll see how it compares to the other nudie that we did. And I don't mean nudie like a person, I mean like a break. Okay, so here's my review of the Sewline pen. I think it is an actual harder lead, and here's why I think that. One, when I did the page of nudibranchs with the other one from the Bohin brand, I used like almost one full lead worth of lead, so it's very soft. This one didn't even use like 3 clicks of the lead, but I don't know that it is as visible or as white. Oop, Oh, we're freaking out the whole camera. Whoa, look, see, that's white again. You're okay. Oh, we've really upset it now. Well, you can kind of see, now it's coming back to a degree, but I think that the Bohin one might be a brighter white, and it's definitely softer. Yeah, I can feel the difference in how soft it is. Probably why it comes out of the fabric easier too. So, Sewline, harder. Bohin, softer. Otherwise, good. And we'll see how it turns out and if all the chalk comes off, and that'll be the end of our test. Okay, so I returned to you with proper lighting. And after working my second Sashiko pattern using the Sewline chalk, hands down, the Bohin was better. Hands down. This was a much harder chalk. Maybe that's good for some other kind of fabric that I'm unaware of. Maybe I did it wrong. All of those things can be true. But for me, this nice Bohin pencil was much, 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 much softer and easier to get onto the fabric. So even if I show you under the good light here, there's some on the lightest fabric. Let me try and get it to focus a little better. And there's some on some darker fabric. And then this is the Sewline. And I just didn't, it goes on fine, but I feel like it falls out faster. This came off a lot faster. So it is actually marking similarly under the light, but I feel like it faded faster from my touching. Anyway, that's not full-on science, but I liked this one better in general as a lead. If I find out that they're the same leads and I've just tricked myself into believing that there's something different about them, well, I wouldn't be surprised by that either. If you're interested in any of these patterns, you can check out my shop, which is listed in the comments below. They are downloadable as PDFs and hopefully will be downloadable soon, or purchasable soon as pre-printed items. Anyway, thanks for coming on this Sashiko tool testing experiment with me, and I'll see you in the next one. The shout out for the day goes to Caitlin Modoff. Thank you so much for being a patron and a great chat friend, and I wish you luck on your Sashiko adventure now that you have fibers. We'll see you in the next one. Bye!